The next thing we will go talk about now layout for CSS. I will first look at the basic layout. That is how you fit arrange your elements. Now we get four kinds of basic display layout for CSS. The first one are block, the second one are inline, the third na inline block, and the fourth one are none. Now, for our HKML class, I don't explain block elements and inline elements. Now, the same principle. Block elements, they occupy their own lines and they take up the full width of their block. So, if you get two block elements will follow each other, they will each start on their leaf line. But inline elements, they inside a block. So, they know they occupy their own line. If you get inline element, it will go start on a new line. It go continue with the block. Example of block element now div h1 paragraphs. And example of inline elements. My element like span where we they put inline so that we go fit style one part of our code inside a block element. That is, with the user to kind of create another box inside our normal block elements. Now, for these inline block elements, like combination of both inline and block elements, because my inline elements, but we think they can behave like block elements by giving its own width and height. For this example now, I give my span a new class so that I will use CSS change them from inline elements to behave like block elements. And div na block element, but I will use CSS change to inline element. And as for display none, now to hide our elements for our page. And yes, you fit get HTML code inside your browser. We be saying you go there the code, but e no go show to your users. Now with display none, now in most programmers they achieve this objective. Now we get so many uses. Sometimes you get some many website you no want show to your users unless they use small screen. Or sometimes you get some information we say you no want show to get unless they don't provide other details. Ma display none, you will take either, and then once you fulfill the condition where you want take show up, you will use JavaScript to change the display to either block or inline. Now, the next thing we could talk about now CSS positions. You see, apart from how you arrange your elements for your website, another thing where you guys understand now where exactly you want put your element on the screen. And positions now one of the ways where if you take do this one as a web developer. So for CSS, we get four main positions: relative, absolute, fixed, and sticky. Now, you they use position with directions. So if you want apply position for one element, the first thing you go do now say you go first specify which position you want use, if na relative, absolute, fixed, or sticky. Then after you go come specify where exactly you want make this thing there for the screen with your directions. The directions we will get my top, left, right, and bottom. You go use these directions with specific value to specify the distance of that element from the initial position. Now, all of these things will not make sense to you, but once I start to show you examples, you go understand. May we begin with position relative. Now, position relative go help you move your element to the place where you specify with your top, bottom, right, and left properties. Now, you see here for our HTML file, we get four different divs. This our first div. We give a position of relative. And for inside our CSS file now, we specify, say, this class, the position we want give them, my relative. Then, okay, once you apply this relative position, make I comment out this other attributary reject. Now, once we apply this relative position, you go make sure say this div now, this element where they just like don't turn relative. But you no go see anything happen until you specify the position with left, right, or top. Now, we go give this our relative element top of 5 pixels. With this top of 5 pixels now, we go move am 5 pixels away from the top. Now, wetin this top 5 pixels mean? Now, we go give am right of 5 pixels. So now it means, okay, move am 5 pixels away from the top and 5 pixels away from the right. If na left we give am, then it will be 5 pixels away from the left. And if we do also bottom, it will specify how far you want may it be from the bottom. Now, the difference between relative and absolute na two main differences. The first one, I say the element we give absolute go move away from the normal flow. That means say if you scroll, you no go scroll like normal elements where they follow each other. But absolute position guys get parents will be absolute or relative position as well. If you give one element absolute position and the element where in the under, that is the parent element, not get any position property, then you go move away relative to the main website, the all website, that is the HTML attribute, which bring me to the second difference. The second difference now say absolute, they move relative to the parent element, we also get position property. Remember, say with relative, once we move arm with top left right, it they move compared to where it's supposed they normally within the box. It they move relative to in own box. But absolute, they move relative to the parent element, we get position property. So you go they find which of the parent element gets position property, then it they move relative to R. If none of the parent element get position property, you go move relative to the whole screen, to the whole HTML file. Now, may we do example with this our div. You see like this our div where we give relative get child where we give absolute. So this absolute element can get parent with position. So now if we can't give them top, left, bottom, or any where will we specify, he could remove relative to these parents instead of moving relative to itself, and then he go come off from normal flow. He could be like say in just come out on your own, they do in thing, and the other elements follow each other under arm. Another position where we get my fixed. Fixed and sticky, they're very easy to learn. Fixed might just say you want fix them to one specific position for your screen. You not go move away from there no matter how you scroll. You just they fix them to that point. Now position fixed, and then you will use your top, left, right as usual to specify where exactly you want fix them to for your screen. Position sticky, like combination of fixed and relative. If you give your position as sticky, it go first they act like normal element until they scroll reach that point. After the scroll reach that point, it will just stick to the top of your screen. Like this our example here. This is say as with the scroll, they do like say a normal element, but when we reach that part, that element, we just stick to the top. That's position sticky. For CSS, you fit want make one element stay and make the other elements will follow flow around them. Usually, now for images and text, we dey use this one. Like this example where I dey show you. How we dey do am na say we go first give our image. We want make text float around them. We go give am class. This class I go call on float left. Then for our CSS now, we go do the floats to the left. Then we're going to use this margin to give some margin and this width to set the size of the image. This one's just normal CSS. Now you must remember, say, no be the element, the text will we want make it flow. No be this text go get the float class. So the thing will we want make this text float around this image. Now we go give the float class. Also, after you don't make something float, it's good to stop the float so that the elements will come after no go continue to the float. So to stop them, we go create another element. We go use div, and then we go use the CSS property clear both to clear the float.